Hi guys, just got to adjust my camera a little bit. Got my new shirt on. We got some thunder and stuff rolling around, so I might have to cut this short tonight, but we see. And been lucky the last week or so. We're getting a little rain every afternoon, keeps the temp from getting just so hot. So I'm kind of happy with it. We got like 1.5 inches of rain in less than an hour the other day. One of them big pours came over the top of me just like you're pouring it out of a bucket. And it lasted like 45 minutes, and then it was gone. I checked the rain gauge before and after, and it was 1.5 inches. So yeah, we stay kind of, down here close to the Gulf. We'll get quite a bit of rain in a hurry. How's everybody doing tonight? Hiram, hello. Randy, good evening. Yeah, we only got like 60 days to go, 61, 62 days to go, and we'll have fall and we'll be able to get out and do a lot more camping and stuff. Randy, good evening. Taxman, good evening. Jeff, good evening. Mopar, good evening. Floyd Smith, glad you made it. Thanks for listening. Chad, good evening. Riverbank Viking, good evening. Rhett, good evening. JB Caudill, good evening. Stacy Sparks, good evening. I have got something. I need to shave. Okay, guilty. I hadn't shaved in the last 3 or 4 days, and it's starting to itch. I'm getting lazy. But I got one of them. It feels like you got a feather in the corner of your nose, and it's actually, it ain't, but it's right there, and it drives me nuts, guys. I swear, like you got a cat riding a tail up under your nose. Just all day I've been. Ugh. Randy, okay. You just was watching Always 57. Good evening. Cool. Skull Cram, good evening. Cow Tipper, hello to Louisiana. Y'all getting a lot of rain down there in Louisiana. I've been seeing them waves coming in. We're finally getting our normal southern rainstorms this late in the year. Edge 13. I'm doing my best. I'm staying out of the heat as much as possible. I'm going out and doing my videos early in the morning. And then I'm working on indoor projects during the day and just don't overheat. So far, so good. Ronald Green, good evening. It took me a week to really start feeling better. I felt just, like run down like I had the flu or something. But I'm feeling almost normal again. Now, as long as I stay out of the heat, I'm okay. But if I get out in the heat for half hour or so, I start feeling it again. I start getting a headache. So I've got to keep out of it a little bit, heal up a little bit. Yeah, Briar Smoke, I agree with you. Everything's gone. It looks like a stupid movie, don't it? And so that's one of the reasons I like to get on and just do something else. Social media, news, TV, everything can't hush about it. So let's go do something else. Let's talk about outdoor stuff and fun stuff. We can deal with all that stuff we want to after a while. Grandpa, good evening. Jonathan Gable. Hello to Central Ohio. Yeah, cow tipper, mowing 5 acres. Yeah, it sucks. When I was a kid, I had to do a push mower on 5 acres. It was no fun. James Singer, hello to South Carolina. Justin, you finally made it in, brother. Oh, I tell you though, I remember that stuff. Sun just beating down on you and walking behind that, pushing that lawnmower, and you thought you would never, ever, ever get done. And it being so hot, the lawnmower was evaporating as much gas as it was burning because it was so hot. And I was always praying that lawnmower was going to catch fire, Dad, I don't know what happened. It just burst into flames, you know. It never did, though. North Carolina Piedmont Outdoors, good evening. Well, I finally pulled the trigger, and I've ordered one of Dave Canterbury's big canteens with a canteen cup and stove. He put butterfly handles on them. And I haven't got one up to this point for that reason. I got all of the bush pots and stuff. I love them. But I hadn't ever got one of his canteens, even though I like the design and everything. I have my nail Jean, but I wanted butterfly handles. You know, I really didn't like the handles on his old one. But now that he's redone it, it's going to be coming in probably Friday, tomorrow. And so I'll be doing videos with it pretty soon. I'm planning on doing some cooking videos, canteen cup cooking, coming pretty soon. It's not going to be on a fire, guys. It's too hot. It'll be on some heating element, some sort of Trangia or something. But we're going to revisit the canteen cup cooking a little bit. A little bit of it is part of the Ground Pounder series, to be able to talk about, you know, not only the gear. And tomorrow is the first video of I'm revisiting the Ground Pounder series, and I'm going to be bringing out modern gear. I've already talked to friends and stuff, vets that have been in the recent wars and things. So can I borrow some gear? Because all my gear is old gear. I mean, 40, 50-year-old gear. You know, do y'all have more modern gear? And can we talk about that? And so that's where I'm going about how do we set up military surplus for camping / bug out bag. You know, let's get some camping gear with the modern surplus. And so that's where I'm going with it. And so tomorrow will be the first video with that, post Friday. And then tomorrow's the one I talk about clothing and stuff. And then I go into rucksacks just a little. And then the one on Sunday is I'm doing the review of the Molly 2 assault bag that you see in the video that a friend loaned me. And so that'll be Sunday. And then next week, I'll start more in depth. We're going to revisit that tarp, talking about what it brings you. And we're going to put together a camping kit using modern stuff, you know, like this, as opposed to my old surplus, more modern surplus. Stuff you can still pick up today, and see if I can help build y'all a set and give you an idea who and what and where and what to do. And yes, it'll function as a bug out bag once you get it made. So, Jeff, you've never been in 100-degree heat. The hottest temp I can remember that I've ever been in was 111 before you added in heat index. And that was here. The record for Alabama is 129. I think, and that was back in like 1934, 1932, something like that. That was the all-time record here. But at the same time, when I saw that 111, it was 90% humidity. They shut down the military base over here because the asphalt had become so soft, helicopters couldn't land on it. They just put a groove in the asphalt. You could grab the steering wheel of a lot of cars and do like that and twist the plastic. The plastic was getting too soft. The temperatures inside cars were hitting like 160, 170 degrees. And people had windshields cracking. And side windows cracking from the heat would expand everything and it'd snap. So that's the most I've ever seen. Randy found a YouTube that showed how to make gel alcohol using calcium acetate, water, and denatured alcohol. Interesting. Yes, North Carolina Piedmont. Have you seen the new Stanley Wildfire branded gear? Yes, and I've got one of the stoves, one of my followers, one of the cook pots. One of my followers sent it to me to do a review and look at it, and I will be doing a review on that this coming week. I've got it. I'm playing around with it, and I like it. I like it better than the original. The original fits on the grill well, but it's kind of deep and kind of narrow. This one's fatter at the top, and you can actually get your hand down in it pretty easy. So I really like it better, and the grill will fit in it. So We're going to talk about that. I'm going to show how I pop the handle off and slide it down beside the grail inside of it, and be able to put the lid underneath it into a carrier and have yourself a little cook kit with it. So yes, I will be doing it. They look interesting. And the one that I've got thus far, I've just cooked on the stove with it a couple times. I like it. Briar smoke out here in the west. Fire danger forces me to canteen cook over a little bit of MSR pocket stove. A couple of kits built. I believe it. Yeah, out there, gets me when these guys going, how to do fire building, and you take 2 rocks and so you hit the spark and it did it. Yeah, in California in the summertime when it's that powder keg, you can put a spark in the same zip code and start a fire. That trick doesn't work in Alabama in our humidity. You can throw sparks like crazy and it won't catch on nothing. But I've had friends that have spent a lot of time in California in the desert region and stuff like that, and they've talked about how things will just dry to powder, that you can just, and the whole bush falls apart right in your hand. So yeah, out there you guys super, but it's a desert. There was a reason people had trouble settling in California way back in the day, because it's a desert. Yeah, Edge 13, Florida is so damn hot. It is, and this year has not been that bad. It's been real hot, I'll give you that. But like 95, 93, 95 along in there, 98 definitely. We had 3 months, if I remember right. Started in May, middle of May, and went all the way to the middle of September, that every day it broke 100 degrees where I live. Every day the high was, they said 98, 99, and it would physically, you'd see it broke 100. That wears you down. It really does. Buttery Biscuits, hello there. Yeah, the Piedmont, the new 2-cup cook set will hold a 40-ounce clean canteen. Cool. Stephen, good evening to Michigan. Jesse Mason Outdoors, hello there. Ken Albridge, hello, brother. Hope you're doing safe out there. Fred Freiberger, have you ever put together a chuck box camp kitchen? Yes, several of them. And I've done video on it. I've done it in my truck camping and a couple others, where I have taken ammo cans and made chuck boxes, because that lid and that seal, I can keep ants and bugs out of it. It works as a work table. It's something I can sit on. Turn it sideways, and you got like a tabletop area. And then, of course, rolling that along, I built them for like scouts and Living History Rendezvous, where you had legs you attached to make it a stand-up, like chuck wagon, fold down. You got a work here and everything. I've made those too. Excuse me. So you just pick what you want for your sets, and then find a box that accommodates it. That's the best advice I can give you. Turtle D, sounds like a lot of us are going gray wolves. Yeah, a lot of them. When I checked my algorithm to see the my subscribers on my channel, the vast majority of them are over 50, and that's the reason I kind of went to talking to them, to being the silver wolves, because we're not that many young kids watching my channel, but most of us are people that's got a few years on us, etc., still want to be active. So that's one of the reasons I changed my focus more toward the silver wolves. Susan, well, hello to Fort Worth, Texas. You're more than welcome to listen. David Neal, hello to New Zealand. Texas Joe, good evening. Yeah, there are several ladies that watch, you know, which I'm tickled. I am very pro ladies in the outdoors of outdoor stuff and teaching, and I'm talking to a couple instructors now who are lady instructors with the idea of doing a woman's gathering, a woman's event. We used to have a thing here in Alabama called the Woods Woman, and it was an event where they would bring instructors together that were very qualified and were very good at teaching the public and especially talking with the ladies. And it's not there's anything wrong. It's just men and women think different. So you need an instructor that understands that and can address that. And they did archery, they did canoeing, they did kayaking, they did shooting sports, they did archery, they did camping skills, campfire building, how to put up a tent, how to put up a tarp, all kinds of stuff. It'd be like a 3-day event. And it was very successful here in the state. And it was sponsored by the former retired game warden in the state of Alabama, the head guy. And it was Dalton Holbrook. And it was very successful. And we're trying to see if we could maybe re-bring that back out for the ladies. Battle Rattle 76. Florida, Georgia, the only place that I've seen where it could be 100 degrees and foggy. I've seen that. Stacy, have you ever heard, Blackie, have you ever heard of a toad strangler? Yeah. They call them microbursts, but we call them toad stranglers. It just water pouring so hard and fast. It's not raining, it's pouring. I've seen roofs collapse because of it, just so much. James Singer, Blackie, do they make a wire spring for the pocket model Colts and the Dragoon? I have not fitted it to that. Now, the one that goes on the Dragoon would be the same that goes into the Single Action Army. What I typically do is I just request the one that goes to the Pieta Single Action Army, and it gives the longest straight piece, and I cut it to length. I believe that would work on a Dragoon. Now, as far as the pocket model, I believe the pocket model uses the same spring. Get with me next week on that, because it'll give me time between now and then. I'll pull out the spring out of my pocket model, which is a 62 pocket Navy, and see if the spring's the same size as the standard. If it is, then the one that we've been talking about, that wolf spring, will fit on to all three of them then, depending. Edge 13, love your channel. I have for years. Now my hammock camping has been a luxury because of yours. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Cordell, hello to Australia. Yeah, we got people are up real late on the far side in the winter. Well, Cordell and New Zealand, how's the winter going down there? You know, give us a little hope, man. You know, we're up here in the heat. Yeah, Fred, I'm going to build a chuck box for 2 pieces so I can carry myself, or both for a larger crowd. That's a good idea. A good friend of mine, he took 2 of the 30 caliber ammo cans and arranged them so they could bolt together, separated out about that far, and have compartment between them and handles on the outside. Well, that made something that 2 people could pick up, and he could feed 5, 6, 7 people, because the 2 seal containers could carry the food stuff, and then the open thing in the middle could carry all the pots and pans and stuff like that. When he got there, he'd turn it up on its side, and the lid that covered the middle section opened down like a desktop. So when you popped open the 2 storage compartments, he'd have all his food stacked up in there, see? But if it was just him going, or just a couple of people, they would detach and become just one box. So he could carry each individual box or all 3 hooked together. Years ago, before we did, everybody had a cell phone and a camera. I wish I had a video of it, because it was a very well thought out set. Satchmo, glad to do it. I'm still working for the Silver Wolves. In fact, Notice the Silver Wolf t-shirt I got. Niece Heather has got more design. She's got this one, and it says Silver Wolves across the back, like this, where it says Silver Wolves, and then across the front, it's got the big paw print. And now she's even doing hoodies. This is a hoodie that she's putting Silver Wolf stuff on. She's so creative. She keeps saying, hey, I made some more. I'm going to put them on the site, and she'll send me one. So down in the description box, if you're interested in the Silver Wolves merch, I put it down there in the description box. If you're interested in going to the Silver Wolf classes coming up in October, 4th, 5th, and 6th, I put that down there as well. Email me at that downndirtywoodscraft, and I'll converse with it. It's kind of like my business email, and be glad to give you any information. Tim Pierce, good evening. Jeff Hansen, welcome to the party. Randy T, we've always called certain rains a toad floater or a frog strangler. Yep. There's frog strangler, that means a microburst. It's just pouring like crazy. There's a kissing rain. That's where it's little bitty drops. It's not quite a mist, and it's not quite rain. Kissing rain. It's like it's kissing you, you know. And then there's big drop rain, hard rain. Oh, what else? Fog rain. You know, that's called a blind storm because it's foggy and raining at the same time, and you can't see 20 feet. I mean, it's like there's fine mist in with the thing to the point you can't see 20 feet. That's blind rain. Oh, Cordell, okay, it's 10 a.m. down there. Cool. You know, I saw where Antarctica hit a new low of 86 below zero at one of the stations. They said that y'all are having a really cold winter down there, which we're hoping it means we're going to get a really cold winter up here because we're getting tired of this heat. Remax, hello from wet Hades. Yeah. Preacher man, glad to do it. Yes, Stephen, exactly. Buy the biggest one you need. Battle Rattle, I have not talked to Heather about that, but yeah, it would be an idea because I've got on my side pouch, I got one of them hook and loop patches, logo patches. We might do that. Johnny, hello there. Oh, Edge 13. Where can I reserve a spot for when you come to Florida? That's going to be at the Rewild Outdoors. WYLD instead of WI. So look up REWYILD. And he's got the thing set up. Ooh, I wish I could. I didn't think to put that in the thing down there, but he's taking stuff for it now for that when I'm coming down there in December to do that thing and teach a couple classes at that. If you go look on Facebook for Rewild Outdoors, you'll find it, and it lists the event. You can contact him through there. Ken Albridge, Blackie, might be early to tell yet. The paper wash around my house being high. That's possible. Something I normally see in August, around in August, that my grandfather used to point out was underneath oak trees on the road. It looked like the road's wet. It'd be black. It'd be darker like it's wet. And it's the oak trees. When everybody else start dumping their leaves, they do something only in the coldest coming years. And so if you start seeing those black, it looks like it's wet underneath the tree on the road, and it's the oak trees. And that's an indication of a really cold winter coming. So we shall see. Diane, hello. I was wondering if you're going to be in. Johnny, Blackie, do I need to send you a military surplus butt pack so you can make a video showing how you used to do it back in the day? If you wanted to. Otherwise, I'm going to have to hunt up one, which I can get one off eBay. I appreciate your offer. But yeah, I just need two of them, and I need a H harness. I found at Sportsman's Guide, they'll say you the Y harness and belt and a canteen and canteen cover and an ammo pouch for like $26. But a butt pack, I got to hunt a butt pack. So I'll find one. Well, hello to Iceland. Gramera, how you doing? Reinhardt, oh, yep, J. Wayne Fair's book, Your Dream Cabin. Really good book. J. Wayne Fair's is a really good writer. He also does a book called Swamp Camping and several other things. And I recommend people that you like to read outdoor stuff like Nesmunk stuff like that, look at J. Wayne Fair's. But if you're going to be doing anything off grid, you really need that book of Your Dream Cabin. It really opens your eyes to a lot of stuff that I didn't even know to ask about how to select property and etc. So, yeah. Oh, Randy, too, yeah. Lightning hitting anywhere within 100 feet of you is always an e-ticket ride. It'll wake you up. RGJ, good evening. Turtle D, okay. There is a water dog race in Ohio. Cool. Well, Johnny, I do appreciate the offer. I really do. Let me see if I can stir up one. I might go borrow one from Grouch. He's still got a lot of his old gear. He's even got one of the small Alice packs. They only issued them right at the beginning of Vietnam, and then they were gone. And they just went with the mediums. That's the reason we call it a medium. There was a small. And back in the late 70s, early 80s, I had a small Alice on a frame. I loved that thing. And then I let some gal talk me out of it. You know, being a fool for a pretty woman is always the right thing to do, I guess. And I never saw another one until Sean Kelly showed one in a video that he found one. I said, man, you done found a dinosaur. And I was talking to Grouch, and he said, oh, yeah, go look in the closet. It's hanging up on the inside of the closet. He's got his. So we'll see if he'll let me borrow a butt pack and a H harness so I can do the video. I'll go talk to him tomorrow, and I'll find out. Buck 112, good evening to Rome, Georgia. Jeff, does anybody want a ebook link to J. Wayne Fair's? Go ahead and post it. If it's something that can legally be done, do it. Bob, well, hello there to the Hatteras Islands in North Carolina. Carlos, good evening. Christopher Evans, yes, they are. Those little bitty Alices, they really were. Yes. Michigan Silverback. The 2-pocket with the X frame in it was actually a pack we developed, and then we kind of got out of it. We were developing that at the time the Alice system was coming online. And so those got shifted over and became an Arvin pack. We gave them in droves to the Vietnamese. And that was my very first good pack, was an Arvin pack. They had that X frame in the back of it. And then, but the small Alices were meant for like officers and radio carriers because they had that big thing underneath, you know. And the medium became the one. The one I had was a standard Alice nylon. Everything. It's just shorter, and it had, I want to say it had, like you said, just the 2 pockets on it instead of the 3, but it was nylon. But I'm going to talk to him tomorrow and see if he'll let me borrow it, and see if I can borrow a butt pack and a harness. We shall see. Oh, wow. Yeah, Ken, Blackie, I had lightning hit directly in front of me on the highway in a bad storm, close enough that all the gauges in my rig went crazy. Yes, it is. This is a dead pepper. This is my niece's, one of the new Silver Wolf shirts she done. Down in the link in the description, I'll tell you where you can go look at all the Silver Wolf merches and stuff. I was on an 18-wheeler with a box trailer on the back, and stopped in Nebraska. Had a supercell rolling over, and I stopped in a truck stop because I was going to get sleep. I'd had enough. And I had just crawled in the sleeper, and, got everything's running, of course, got the air conditioner going. And I had pulled the covers up, and I had just like, bam, it hit my trailer. And the gauges did not work in that truck worth a flip. The air gauge never showed full pressure again. It never would go all the way to the top. It'd come about 3/4 way, and that was it. And the oil pressure gauge, always you'd crank it up, and it'd go and tap, and instead of coming back and then rising up to where it'd be, it'd go tap and stay. And we learned to work around it. But I told him, I said, my trailer got hit. It turned it off like that. The whole truck went dead, and of course I thought something exploded. I didn't realize it was lightning, and got out and got looking and figured out, I could get where I could get up on top and look, and saw the hit, got inside the trailer, saw where it burned a hole in the aluminum. It was almost about 5 feet in from the back end. And when it went out the bottom, airline, the coupling that goes from the airline to the brake connector down there at the main reservoir right there on the double transom backs blew off. And I guess that was the path it went through getting out. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. It took about $200 repair to get me back up and running to come home. Yes, Michigan Silverback, the Jungle Pack. Correct. Christopher Evans, that's true. That's how I got an Airborne pack. There was a family member that had gone over and had been a Special Forces advisor to an Airborne unit called the Black Tigers. And they had, they wore all black uniforms, like the black pajamas that the Viet Cong wore. And so they wanted to blend in, so to speak. And he had full web gear, and somewhere around in here, I've still got my web gear, where I've got U.S. Army M14 pouches, the web belt, the harness, canteen and cover, the compass pouch, and there was a butt pack with that set. And they're all black. They weren't dyed, they were made black. So that this wasn't an in-country, this was a U.S. produced for those guys with those units. So when he came home, and I was just a little kid, and he said, I heard you need some Army stuff. And he came over and threw this duffel bag on the front porch and said, here, you can have it. Because he was done. That was his third war. He had fought in World War II, Korea, and Vietnam. He was done, and I didn't realize until just a few years ago how rare that stuff was. So. Oh, and the Airborne pack. It was a black Airborne pack. Okay, cool. Tim Lacey, Backcountry Camping by Bill Revere tells how to building a backcountry cabin. 71. Cool. I'll look it up. Do you know how many liters a small Alice is? No, I don't right off the top of my head. Yes, Tim Pierce. I've got that Molly 2 pack. Like I said, in tomorrow's video, I will talk about, I'm starting the Ground Pounder series. We're going to be building kits for Modern Gear. And I got, it says the Molly 2 pack. It was loaned to me by a friend. And then this Sunday, I'll give you a more in-depth review of it. Maybe you guys can tell me, you vets out there that had the Molly 2 packs, when you look in the back and you got that soft frame that slides the pocket on the inside, there's these two big white heavy duty nylon straps. What does that go to? Because they're sewed in, but then you got a big extension like 36 inches coming out. What are those for? Some sort of lift rig or what? You know, if you guys were in and know what I'm talking about, let me know. Oh, RG, the book, if you're looking to build an off-grid cabin or do like that or get off, is J. Wayne Fear's Build Your Dream Cabin. That's the book. It is a little bit about the physically building cabin, but the great part about that book is he tells you how to go to look at the property, to go get the flood plan. It's free for that property. Weather patterns, it's free for that property. You figure out that here it's hot and muggy, and 100 feet further up the hill it's actually cooler. He tells you what government agencies, this stuff's available free, that if you just go ask. Has this property ever flooded? Is there oil or other resources underneath it that may be a problem down the line that you don't know about? See, and so it's a very good book for you to know. You read that book, you've got an educated idea of what to do getting off grid. Cow Tipper, good evening. If I hadn't said hello. Small Alice, 20 liters. Thank you, Michigan. Christopher Evans, that's what I was thinking, because it's sewed into the pack. And I don't know of a big lift unit. Why would you'd have that on a harness, not on the inside of a rucksack? So that's what was odd to me when I pulled them out. It's like they're attached. So, and you can't zip it up with them out. So I don't know what they are. So I just wonder if it has a purpose I'm not aware of. Okay, Dan Davis, those white straps are used in airborne operations. Okay. The white straps are for hooking to a parachute snap hook. Wow. Okay. Bear's in the house. Good evening, sir. Satchmo, I use a tripod collapsible hunting stool for rest walking in the woods. Any thoughts on something better and lightweight that for Silver Wolf? What I carry is one of them little bitty pocket nylon mesh hammocks. If you go look in my playlist and look in the hammock playlist, I go in depth. That thing as big as your fist. It's just a net. Well, the great advantage to that is I can tie it between two trees kind of close, and it forms a V like that I just spread out and sit down. Weighs nothing, you know. And if you're in a place where you got trees, best way to go. I can also just straddle it, sit down, and lean back and have my legs there and be like leaning back in a recliner. Carry them in a cargo pocket or something. It weighs nothing. And once you, like in my video, I demonstrate about how making quick straps out of 550 cord and a couple of carabiners, you can have it up or down in a minute. And so I that was my rest carry where, I don't want to have to unpack everything, but I don't want to sit on the ground because there's going to be snakes, there's going to be bugs, there's going to be ants, there's going to be ticks, or whatever. I want to get up off the ground. I don't have rocks down here to sit on. I have to sit in the mud or sit in the grass or sit in the whatever. And being able to just go up to a tree and just go click, click, and have a place to sit down. And it weighs nothing. So that's what I use. Yep, Bear's in the house. How's that cooking book? That cooking book coming there, Bear? Oh, Bear, I have got your canning jar. I ate the stew that we can. I did that like you did. I made rice and did rice and that stew one night for me and Hope. It was really good. So once it cools off, we'll do more canning videos of that stuff. Oh, who was it was telling me about canning a deer tenderloin, cutting it into the size of that that canning jar you use. I think that was a quart jar, wasn't it, Bear? And okay, Bear, and about a quart jar, I think. And they talked about taking a whole hunk of meat and putting there in the way they canned it. So I'd like to see that one worked out one time. Like I said, I helped a lot with canning when I was a boy because it was done by all the ladies, all the mamas and grannies and stuff like that, did some sort of canning or whatever. And it was a part of the rotation where you're picking, you're shelling, you're canning, you're cooking, you're freezing, you're putting stuff in the freezer, you're cleaning out a freezer, you're whatever, And, but I was a helper. I wasn't really paying that much attention, to be honest. There was so many other things that I had going. And Granny was particular about her canning. And when I was 7, 8, something like that, me and a boy got in a fight on the front porch. And Mrs. Counts across the street heard us two boys fighting. And she left her kitchen and came walking out on the front porch to scold us to quit that crap whenever her pressure cooker blew up. The rattler stuck and it went boom. And there was peas on the wall and the ceiling. Probably saved her life walking out of that room because the lid just shattered like shrapnel and went embedded itself. I remember the door of a refrigerator looked like you just taken a ball peen hammer and reared back and knocked the stock out of it. So it was a good thing she walked up to tell us boys to quit fighting because it kept her from getting blowed up. And so I wasn't in any hurry to learn how this thing worked because I was scared them things going to blow up, be honest with you. I was a bigger teenager before I figured out all the dynamics and how it works. And as long as that thing's rattling, you're good and all like that. So yeah, our church did a cookbook many years ago. It was a nightmare. It's tough doing a cookbook. I mean, you got to not only A, cook it and be sure it's going to work. B, people all over the country are going to try this, and they may be at higher altitude. It takes longer to do. C, certain ingredients may not be available everywhere. 4, the names for ingredients may be different, like fine cornmeal versus cornmeal, things like that. Because we have cornmeal mills down here. They grind it to whatever you want. And so you're cooking with something, cornmeal or something, it might be a different terminology. So it's a tough thing. I got none of respect for them doing it. Very true, Justin. Bacteria is more heat resistant today than it was back in them days. All right, if I'd had a pressure cooker blow up on me, it'd have been peas and underwear. It sounded like a 12 gauge went off. I'm not kidding you. Craig, good evening. Okay, PlayStation. That is a fair thing to do. Speaking of cooking, it might be a nice idea to do a video on cooking in an emergency, such as running away or whatever. Right, being able to just have a kit set up. You know, that old wooden grenade crate I like. All right, in case me and my wife have to bug out, we've already figured out a system like I've talked about of being able to grab or whatever. Well, that wooden crate, there'd be quick eats, and I've already got MREs and stuff sitting there, and I've got a Trangia. I've got my Trangia military set fueled up and ready to go sitting there, and we got water and all, so we could grab that, throw that in the back of the car, and that's about 2 days worth of food for the two of us. And it's something you can just pull over the side of the road. I can take that, sit down on anything. I can sit down on the box and put it in the dirt in front of me and be able to heat up chow for us to be able to eat on the go. And so I did stuff like that back when I was a truck driver. 2 a.m. I'd pull into a truck stop. I mean, not truck stop, a rest stop. And I walk out to one of the concrete tables, and I had an alcohol burner and a little stove, like a canteen stove that sat on top of it. And I'd have a canteen cup. Might heat me up something to eat. Keep it flexible, stay moving. Oh, a Hoover stew, Ken Albridge. Blackie, I can't remember the president's name, but talking about cookbooks, there was a stew named after a president during the Depression. Hoover stew. Correct. It's a mixed match of stuff because that's what was available. Will, have you ever tried hand loading 28 gauge or 410? I have reloaded 410. I have never reloaded 28 gauge. I have seen them. I think once or twice actually pulled the trigger on a 28, but the only time I ever saw them was in my neck of the woods. Was guys off the military base over here, and they had a big skeet club. I mean, this was serious stuff, guys. And there was a 4-gun match. You had to have 4 shotguns to compete. So there was a 10 gauge, a 12 gauge, a 20 gauge, and a 410. Or a 12 gauge, a 16 gauge, a 20 gauge 410. Or a 410, a 28, a 20, and a 12 could be. But it had to be 4 separate gauges for whatever this competition was. And somebody was saying, you ever seen a Remington 1100 in 28 gauge? What? And he brought out this 1100 in 28 gauge. I didn't even know they made such a unicorn. But I got to shoot like 5 or 6 times with it. And lighter than a 20 and more than a 410. That's all I can say. Very good. A lot of parts of the country like them for shooting in real hill country and stuff like that as a bird gun. Oh, you low 50s tonight. Oh, I wish. It may get down to 73, 74 here if I'm lucky. Oh, battle rally, yeah. I'd be happy to do that. It's intriguing looking at a lot of these foreign countries. I understand the French are the fanciest of all, and they want to treat you like 4-star chefs. But yeah, I have tried MREs from in the past. Germany, Canada, one of the South American countries, British, I think once, but many, many years ago. But yeah, I'd be willing to try some. Do video on it. Be interesting to me. David Buckhalter, do you have any experience with Bark River knives? I have not owned one, but a good friend of mine, Micah, has got one. And I've used his and us doing woodscraft stuff. And I like the knife. I did like Bark River knives. It does seem to be a very good knife. Ken, no, we do not. Hey, Blackie, do y'all have a community garden area where you can pick whatever is planted for free? We have one that's peas, okra, sunflowers. Afraid not down here. But believe it or not, there is, and it depends on when, but there is a farm that they went out on the side of the road and put up a tin barn and put refrigerators in it, put out a donation jar, and they put meat out. They had put hamburger and steak and stuff like that because it's a big cattle thing, and they butchered cattle. And whenever the freezer got full, they'd put the rest of it out there, and it was free to whoever wanted it. Just put something in the tip jar. It was open 24 hours, but never knew when they were going to put anything out there. It was a shot in the dark. You know, it was a big working farm, but it's about 25 minutes from me. And me and my wife were coming back real late one night from something and rode by, and I looked over and saw the coolers, and I saw something in the thing, and I walked up, and it was 5-pound things of ground hamburger meat free. I put $20 in the thing and got 30 pounds of hamburger meat from that, but don't have a free pick down here. Randy, have you ever made everlasting stew? Keep it going. I've eaten everlasting stew at rendezvous and living history events where you just kept the pot going. Kept adding new stuff to it. It was chicken and stuff when you started, and it may be sausages and stuff by the end of it, or deer. You know, they just keep adding meat and stuff into the pot and more vegetables, and you could get up there and pretty much tell what was fully cooked and what was not quite done yet and fish around a little bit. Tiny Titan, good evening. How are things going in the Northwest up there? There used to be a place in New York that their claim to fame was that they had a pot of stew going since World War II. That the Italian couple, their family, they had started that. They had opened their doors in 1939. The war got declared, and it was not far from the shore. And I mean, this is one of them, you know, like battleship cauldron pots. You know, you could take a bath in that pot. And their claim to fame and the little placard over the door is they had never let that pot run out since 1939 when I saw it in about 1988. So I wonder if that place is still there. Oh, Preacher Man, yeah. Crock pots are great for bone broth and cooking stuff like that. Super long, super good, yeah. Well, actually, now Hoover stew was not that bad. It's just, you know, peas, whatever, hot dog usually cut up in it, something like that. You know, which we use connector sausage down here, about the same size as a dog, but it's got a lot better flavor. Okay, Tim Pierce, white straps, Molly Tour, Airborne jump rig 4-pack. Thank you. Oh, cool. Ken Albert selling caramel milk. David Burkhalter, going to visit friends in Destin, Florida, and then back to Orlando. I'm going to swing by Sampson to your surplus store. Awesome. Now, David, they are not open on the weekends right now. They're only open on the weekends in the fall. They're open Monday through Friday, 9 a.m., I believe, to 4 is what they're open. So I've listed their phone number before, and if you want to write it down real quick, I'll tell you. So you can call, make sure they're open before you drive and find out they ain't open. Okay. Phone number is 334-898-1770. And do that. If David, have you got me on Facebook? If you have, give me a holler, and if I can, I'll swing over and say hey, and we'll dig through it a little bit together. Tiny Titan, I hope that you don't. I hope this fire season goes real easy with you guys. Hope you don't have any problem. Hey, yeah, preacher man, woo doggies. I bet. How do you clean that pot? Kind of scrape around the sides a little. It was good. I had a bowl of it. I got to admit, it did taste really good. But yeah, Chris Evans, I can remember that too. Um, I can remember it being like they'd leave a row along the edge if it's a long field. A row of like corn, a row of peas or butter beans or whatever. And that way, if you were going to, don't rob them, but if you were hungry and you needed something, go to that first row. You know, don't take 10 bushel baskets out of the middle of it. They're going to be mad at you. But I do remember that too. Shane, good evening. I can remember church groups that at harvest time, they would be people bring hampers of peas, butter beans. Later, it went into garbage bags, you know, but originally it was actually the hamper things. And they'd bring them, sit them on the front stoop, the front step of the church, and just leave. And that way, if you came by and you was hungry and you saw them sitting there, stop and get them. That's what it was for. You know, you didn't have to thank anybody. You didn't have to let anybody know that you was poor right now and just couldn't take care of your family. And I remember that. I remember Easter Sunday and stuff like that. There'd be a little table set out under the porch on the front of the church, have a little white cloth on it, and there'd be cookies and stuff that the ladies would make and put out there just for that, for the poor. Random Adventure, good evening. Randy T, there really isn't that much ginseng digging going on down here. My soil just isn't that conducive to it. And a little further north, yeah, but down here, not so much. Yeah, Chris, it was stressed a lot around around harvest season. It was stressed a lot about spread the loaves upon the waters, share with those that don't have, and you got to clean out your freezers because you know you've filled. It's coming up. Harvest is here. We're starting to get new. Well, the old stuff that either I'm not canning or cooking or whatever. If I've got a bunch of whatever left from last year, um, you tell the church that on this day, this afternoon, we'll bring it to the church, you know, and anybody that needs it, come get it. And the preacher would make sure it got handed out because it's not anything bad or nothing. It's just, I got to make room in my freezer. I got, you know, we're butchering a cow. And so we had a bunch of peas or butter beans last year, and I'm sick of peas or butter beans. And people would share, you know, they would pass them on, they'd barter them, they'd do whatever with people that were poorer than you. And I was sent to do work by the family because someone was donating to us because we were poor meat. And so Granny donated me to go rake leaves and walk dogs. I was about 9 or 10 years old. You know, go rake leaves, walk dogs, paint a dog house, fix fences, stuff like that in exchange for, you know, because we was poor. Good night, Stephen. Yeah, random. I remember that as well, especially peanuts. You know, they'd run their peanut pickers through the fields, and it would always leave peanuts. You know, for whatever reason, it couldn't pick it up or whatever. And after they were done, if you wanted it, go get it. You know. Yep, I remember Hunters for Hunger. We used to call the jail and say, "Look, I got a deer I don't want. Can I bring the deer up to the jail?" And they'd say, "Yeah." They'd butcher the deer for you out back, you know, and they'd feed prisoners with it if nothing else. Um, a lot of the little old ladies in the family and stuff that may or may not have anybody left around them anymore in the nursing home, they'd make baby clothes and stuff and donate it to new mamas at the hospital. They just make up sets of diapers and chew toys and, you know, teething rings and little baby clothes and all of the above, baby bottles and stuff to donate to the new mamas because they figured they didn't have no money either. So it was being a community back then. Battle Royale, yes. A friend of ours raises bison and beefalo, but doesn't like to fish, but loves eating it. So he trades me pound for pound bison for crappie and blue cat. Yeah, that's a deal. I'm right there with you. Yes, I will. It'll kill. Blackie, will you do a axe talk one day on your outlook for what makes a good camping axe and what to look for in selecting or making a good handle? I'll do my best to get that out. Okay, Bear, glad they didn't get too complicated. And we're still on for Saturday to get together. So we can do it in what is good for you, Bear, in the morning or the afternoon. Because which I still don't know whether Hope's working or not. I will text you later and let you know if Hope's working. If she's working, I'll take her in the morning. I'll pick her up at 2. We got time in between. If not, after she's off, I'll get her something to eat and get home. And then we got time then. Whichever one's good for you. Randy T, I agree with you. I believe that there are many more good people than there are bad people out there. It's just the bad ones are getting the notice. It only takes one apple stinking in the pot for you to think the whole pot's rotten because it stinks. But usually you fish out that bad apple, and it's amazing how many of them apples are still good and clean. They just need a little bit of cleaning. So. Bear Randy Burkhalter says, Bear really enjoyed your video on the canteen kits at the surplus store. I like that battle rifle. Yeah. 8:30 sounds good to me. Give me a text when you're headed this way. Oh yeah. We looking at the modern surplus now that I'm having to kind of, I know what I wanted, I know what I used. I'm gonna do a thing. I'm using the U.S. Army cook set because it's still available. It's everywhere for a little fry pan and etc. Canteen cup cooking. Even though most of the guys don't carry canteens anymore, they got the water bladders now, and since they got self-heating meals, they don't have to cook it. They'd rather just, you know, put the water and heat it up, and eat it out of the thing, and throw the garbage away. I can see that. Yeah, I can see that. But for us doing what we're doing and the adaptability of it, like using a pantry like Dakota makes, of being able to take stuff from home like instant mashed potatoes, rice, pasta dishes, stuff like that, and figure out how much I need in a cup, like a canteen cup, to feed me. and then making sure that amount dry is put into one of them little bitty things inside that pantry. They can be, 3 or 4 days worth of meals, main meals in there. And so that gives me a lot more flexibility than just an MRE, where I can augment an MRE, and get everything to go a lot longer and a lot better, especially if I can use something cheap from the store that I actually like. So, like that really good chili. It's dry and it's mostly beans, but it tastes good and it's easy to make. And I did in one of my canteen cup cooking videos, I show how to make like a shepherd's pie with it. And it tastes really, really good with it, instant mashed potatoes, and a little bit of muffin mix on top. It actually tastes sweet. And my wife was shocked when I gave her some. I said, here. And she said, oh, God, what is this? And I said, it's sort of a shepherd's pie I did in a canteen cup here. And after that, she liked it and said, next time we go camping, make this. Well, okay. Living cheaply family. I have a question about the Army surplus store in Sampson. When is it open? Thank you for the work. Thank you very much for watching. The store is open Monday through Friday, I believe 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. It is not open on the weekends except in the fall, like in October around to like March. But that at this time, it's only open from 10 a.m. to 4 Monday through Friday. The phone number for that place is 334-898-1770. And tell the ladies that Blackie sent you, and they'll hand select for them. So if you say, hey, I'm looking for a poncho, or I'm looking for a whatever, those tarps that I recently talked about, they got a shipment into them tarps. And those are $25 a piece for the multicam tarps. It's like this, but it's the Marine Corps one that you see in my video I just did in the Ground Pounder series. And they've got those. They got packs. They got all kinds of stuff in there. And ask them, and they probably know exactly where it is. If not, they'll find it and get a hold of you and say, I found it, and get back with you. So they're really good ladies. They'll really work to try to find what you need. Ronald Harris, Blackie, where did you get your hat? I got my hat originally from the Boy Scouts. However, if you'll look down in the description box where I said about the merch, and it's the Tinkering Crafts Kentucky, that's my niece. She's got hats. She's gone to the American manufacturer and is getting hats. And American company, I should say. And so if you're looking for a hat like mine, she's got the slouch hats. She actually talked with them and got them to do a thing. So she's got slouch hats that are like this, crushable felt, so that it don't wear out and you can use it in the field. Okay. Remax. MREs and Mountain House type meals have too much salt for me in my heart. So homemade meals would be great. I'll be dealing with some of that. If you go look at my canteen cooking series, my simple cooking, I talk a lot about how to do stuff from home and stuff like that. Blackie, have you ever heard of people cooking honey locust pods like beans? Seems to me I've heard of something like that, but I have no firsthand knowledge and I can't really speak to it. I can just say I've heard of it. But then again, I've heard people talking about cooking and eating kudzu. I have cooked and eat kudzu. It is not palatable to me. It is technically edible, but it is not palatable. Tastes what a Crocodile Dundee said. Oh, you can live on it, but tastes like caca. So I have not tried the locust beans. Turtle D, yes, they do have low sodium MREs, and the ladies at Coffin Surplus have got the ones that are the low sodium. In fact, the military, because they were putting such high sodium because these were going to be used in the desert wars, and they needed that salt. And so the ones they've got there are the low salt, and they're more like regular table equivalents instead of being so salted. So you might want to ask for them. Satchmo, yes, jerky can be rehydrated as long as it's real jerky and not that exuded stuff. And the thing I always tell them is, if you take it and you tear it and it comes apart and there's grains in it, it looks like wood grains. Yes, that's jerky. If it just tears in half and it looks like rubber, that's that exuded paste, and that doesn't cook worth a flip. It'll flavor, but the actual stuff that tears apart is just dehydrated meat. And if you'll just put it on a low simmer, it'll puff back up and rehydrate and be meat. Blackie, I'm wanting to start searing steak when on the road. Compact, quick setup, quick cool time for packing on the truck. Suggestions? Yes. Get a Trangia. It'll heat up in a hurry, and before you get done eating, it's cold to the touch once you put it out. And so you can sear on that. You can put your grill over the top of it and just sear on it. Does the same thing as a barbecue gas grill. And so you can sear steak right quick, pull it off, cap it off, and by the time you get done eating that steak, you can pick it up and hold it. So, David Bullcalter, good night. Metalworks, well, thank you for your service. Yeah, the MREs back then were not, they were a great improvement over C rations, but it really took the beginning of the Gulf War and all for us to really, the troops refused to eat after so long. In the past, MREs, C rations and all was, you were not supposed to be fed a steady diet of them, that you would only have to eat them once or twice a month on days they couldn't get hot chow to you. That was the official regs, that you'd be fed hot chow once a day. Even the guys in the front lines, that was the idea. Well, modern Desert War didn't work out that at all. And so you had guys eating the same MREs for weeks or months, and guys started actually losing weight because they just refused to eat that dog food. And so that's when they went to changing around and really, the guys in the field were saying, I'd rather starve than eat that. And so they actually went to changing the meals a lot. But late 80s, early 90s, oh yeah, that was dog food. Ooh, it'll kill. You have a boss who uses kudzu roots as skull. Yeah, I've heard of that, about it being a tobacco substitute. You can roast the roots kind of like you'd roast peanuts, and it gives it like a tobacco-like flavor, and chew on it. Heard of it, don't chew, so I don't never mess with that. But Michigan Silverback, can you market some Silverwolf soft hat pins? Silverwolf hat pins. I'd like to make leather hat bands. I will ask Heather about that. If there's something, she's more in depth to this than me. And like I said, she's my niece. She's a bullfrog. She's a bulldog boy. You put her on it, I'll tell her, look, what can we do to make Silverwolf hat pins? And let's see what she'll come up with. Because on mine, I have that one right there. That was given to me by my niece Trinity. And so they do exist. I'll see if we can come up with some. Yeah, Remax. A wild food teacher in Orlando calls wild food like that famine food. It'll keep you going. That's about it. I don't hear anybody knocking down doors for it, and I have eaten quite a bit of that stuff as part of survival camp out, stuff like that. And it will keep you going. But you're going to crave a lot of stuff. That's all I got to say. Yeah, Remac, Battle Rattle, a countertop dehydrator. Yes, you can really be able to take and it's a great way to do it. You take leftovers. You've already made pot roast, right? And this is the leftovers. Put it on the dehydrator and turn it into a camp meal. I know a family that does that. They've got 2 kids, and they just take all the leftovers and put it on the dehydrator and turn it into, and that way they pull it out, whatever, rehydrate it, and bring it back up. And they've got the kids now, which the kids are now about 9 or 10 years old. And they go, I'm hungry. And so go look in the drawer. And he slides open the drawer, and here's all the dehydrated meals. And he knows how to dump it in a bowl, add just enough water, and put it in the microwave, rehydrate it. Or they got a kettle. Pour boiling hot water on it and let it just sit there for a little bit until it hydrates, and throw it in the microwave, finish heating it up, and it's ready to go. So, good way to work the kids. Andy Knight, good evening to South Georgia. Battle Rattle, raise your hand if you've ever been personally victimized by long-term MRE usage. I've done some long campouts. That's all I had to eat. I don't know if that ain't gonna qualify for you soldiers that had to do it the hard way, but Grouch, when he was in Force Recon, and it was one of those things back during the days where they were someplace they weren't supposed to be, but we were there, but we weren't supposed to be there. And him and a bunch of other guys at a base that we ain't supposed to exist here, hunting bad guys on that side of the line type deal. And so they didn't have official funding. So they just went and got what they could get out of the PX and give to them for food, because they didn't have any allocation for MREs or whatever for them to feed them, because of, it's kind of classified operation. So they did an airdrop for a half a pallet of SpaghettiOs. And that's what they had to eat for 37 days. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner was a half pallet of SpaghettiOs from the PX. You wonder why he does not eat SpaghettiOs to this day. Oh, wow. James Singer, 30 days in Mogadishu. Thank you for your service. That was a hard one. Metalworks, Blackie, do you have any thoughts on the Himalayan salt? I have high blood pressure. I have heard from a couple of people that are real salt sensitive that's about all they've been able to work with. That Himalayan salt. My wife's got some. She got it from me. I'm kind of the exception to the rule, because I was put on a high salt diet when I was young. I just never, my body doesn't process it well. And so when I went in and they did all my heart surgery and everything, and the nurse came in and said, okay, from now on, no sugar and no salt. Take it off the table. Don't have any. I went, uh-huh. And the nurse said, sir, I'm dead serious. I went, ma'am, I fully believe that you are sincere, and I'm listening to you. And I've only been out of surgery like 3 days. I mean, they pried me open and did everything. And I said, but before I leave here, you're going to change your mind. I'm going to do what you tell me to do, but you're going to change your mind. And so that was at like 2:00 on Wednesday. The supper they brought me Wednesday night, now this is the first time I'd eaten in 4 days, by the way, was like that wallpaper paste, potatoes. I mean, it was for the severe diabetics. I ate what they gave me. The next morning at 11:00, that same nurse come running back in with like 5 Jellos, sugar Jellos, and about 8 salt tabs. She said, take every one of this and eat all this right now. You're flatlining on everything. I said, really? I'm on a high salt diet for a reason. So I've never had the problem of being salt sensitive for my heart. It's the other way around. If I don't have salt, I go into all kinds of problems. So It'll kill. Blackie, what's your advice for getting yellow jackets to relocate without risking getting stung? If it is yellow jackets and they're in the ground and you want to kill off that nest, get a towel or something like that, okay? At night, figure out where they're at, okay? During the day, you'll see them there around the hole doing their bit with their wings. Figure out exactly where that is, okay? At night, they go down in the hole. So you're going to take not a terribly powerful flashlight, but one you can clearly see, okay? You don't want them to think it's daylight. Walk up, cover the entrance with this towel or whatever, and then dump a quart of gasoline on top of it and retreat. The fumes with their wings will circulate all the way down to the hole, because they're even down in that hole right now, but they don't stay on the surface. They go underground, and it will kill that whole nest without getting stung. Leave it there a full 24 hours, and then come back and hook and pull the thing off with a stick or something like a hoe, be at range. If they start to come out, take off. You didn't dump the gas in the right place. Make sure you dump the gas where the hole is, so that some of it goes down the hole and the rest is soaked in gas, so they're bringing them fumes down, and you'll kill off that entire nest that way, hopefully without getting stung. Hector, Blackie, what are your ideas for stiffening up the handle on the pan on the Pathfinder 40 all stainless steel cook kit? Where it swivels, that's just a rolled over hinge, and I will do a demonstration for you of taking that and putting it onto something that's a good, like a little anvil, a good surface like that, and taking a ball peen hammer and tightening up that hinge just a little bit. Because what it is, it's a flat piece of metal. They put it in there and they roll it, and then they run that pin through with the handle, and they kind of crimp it to put the final thing in it. If they didn't crimp it quite tight enough and it's a little too slack, or that pin was just a little bit loose, you can make it have a little bit more tension so that the handle has a little stiffer up and down. It's a tap, 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 but I will demonstrate the technique as soon as I can. Christy D, hello. Oh boy. Tim Pierce, exhaust manifold cooking can blow up beans under the hood. Yeah, it sure will. If you leave one sealed up. That's the reason I had mine was a coffee can with a wire, heavy screens. What it was, I had formed it around so it made like a cap on it, and I'd put the can, I'd poke a hole in the can and sit it down in there so it couldn't fall over inside that can. And that can was wired between two things. I think it was the thermostat and one of the other brackets. I had it wired between with a coat hanger, so it'd be easy to get out of the way if I had to work on the engine. But at the same time, it would hold it and it wouldn't tip over, and I just pull that piece of screen off top with a friction fit, put the can in it, and work that lid back on. That way, if you hit a bump, it couldn't fly out of the thing. See, and it kept it upright. And I just poked me a small hole, let steam out of it, and I'd drive 40, 50 miles, and I'd have hot chow when I got there. Or that was the idea anyway. But if you ever forget to pop that hole, you're going to be washing beans out from under there. At least I did. Correct. Christy D, you don't set it on fire. You want the heat. Don't put it on top of a blower on the turbine on an 18-wheeler. That thing get cherry red hot. And don't put it on the exhaust manifold. That's too high a temperature. But the engine block, it'll run about 200 degrees, which is just below boiling, and it will slowly heat it up, and so you're good to go and don't burn it. But that exhaust manifold, that'd be 500 and 600 degrees. It'll burn before it heats up in places. So It'll kill. Yeah, I knew guys that would do that. That one guy that used to be retired cop here, he had a device that sat on the side of his Harley on top of the exhaust, and he could put stuff in it and heat it up. And he would go get kind of like a Subway sandwich, and it had a flip lid on it, kind of like a valise, and he would open it up. He'd put the sandwich in it, fold it over, and click, click, and it's sealed up, so exhaust is not going through it, it's going under it, and it's just a heat coming up, and it's sealed up. And he would drive home, which is about a 20-25 minute run, and when he got there, he'd open it up and he'd have a nice warm sandwich ready to go, like he'd come right out of the deli. So, which we always told him, you passed by early this morning, didn't you? You went, how'd you know? I could smell bacon and eggs as you went by. We'd always pick at him because he'd cook stuff and put it in there to keep it warm going to work or whatever. Smell like John's been through here. I'm smelling pancakes, Oh. Oh, man. Yeah, let's see what we got coming. I've got 5 or 6 of the ground pounder series lined up. Just going to be talking about surplus, making up the surplus kit like I talked about. I've got I've got a couple of things I need to do videos on. I've got that little bivvy shelter that I'm going to talk about that kind of ties in with the ground pounder. For the people that don't want to have a hammock, they want a ground pound. This small ultralight set that One Wind brought out that sets up with just 2 sticks and a couple of stakes, which you can improvise the sticks, or you can put up a ridge line and hang it up. And it's a full tent with a zip on and off, zip open, I should say, mosquito net, and a weather flap that's got zippers on it for a full size. It's bigger, it's well comfortable inside. And I think that'd be a better choice really than like an old shelter house or something. It's that big. It's about that big around and about that long, and weighs about 2.5 pounds. And all you need is it comes with stakes, a couple of lines. You can hook up a ridge line. I'm going to demonstrate all this. And I think as a ground pounder, it'd be a quick, easy light, and it's not horribly expensive. So that's something I got in the future. Hector, be glad to do it. James Singer, good night. Oh yeah, Ken Albert's that the diesel stuff system now can be way above that. Yeah, you just got to stay away from the exhaust. I don't know how you're going to keep a rig cool. Back in the 70s, White Truck Line brought out a Road Commander 2, and that was a truck that my dad got. And it was a Cummins Formula 290 in it, and the 290 was a 350 engine, but they put slightly smaller pistons in it, make it a 290. But then they put the big 500 turbo on that thing, and so the Road Commander 2, Road Boss 2, Road Commander was a cab over, the Road Boss was with a nose on it. They took the front half of a cab over and set it right behind the engine. So the engine kind of went like half under it. And they put a little bit of short hood on the front of it. Well, the problem with it was those trucks didn't have insulation there, see? When this was supposed to be the front of a cab over, the wind's blowing by. It's coming in front. Now it's sitting right behind the engine. And in fact, when you tipped up the hood, there was the mounting points to put a grill on the front of it, but there's an engine in the way. The heat And we didn't have air conditioners back in them days. So it was 125 degrees in that cab with 260, two windows down doing 60 miles an hour. It was still 100 plus degrees in that cab. And all you did was ride, wiping sweat. With that big old huge turbo would go to singing, you'd be going up a hill. It just sipped fuel when you wasn't pulling heavy weight. But when you got under heavy load on a hill, that big turbine spooled up and she'd pull, boy. She'd run. The problem with it was the heat. There's no place for that heat to go. And so you'd be sitting there at your feet. You know, we used to put board down and then put a piece of plywood on top of that to put your feet on, because the rubber carpet, the rubber pads in the bottom of the cab would get so hot they'd go to smoking. That's how hot it was inside that cab. And nowadays, like you're talking about, now they spool up to 700 degrees. Y'all must have a whole lot better insulation than we had back in our day, because y'all got air conditioning and you're not burning inside with air conditioning. So they've worked it out somehow. Shane, one thought for Blackie, Fuke, and Bear. Since harvest season is almost upon us, can you do a thing about desiccated vegetables? Yeah, Bear's got a dehydrator and all, and so we've talked about doing that. About how to dry them out, then how you store them for long term. And so we're talking about doing videos on that. So this fall, that's the game plan. In fact, I'll talk more tomorrow, day after tomorrow, when I see Bear. We'll talk more about it. Yeah, it'll kill. Well, that's one thing. Vehicles today are not designed to last. It's not on the bottom line of the company blueprint to have a vehicle last. They want you to have to trade it in or get rid of it. I was watching a thing the other day. You know, a lot of these modern vehicles now, when you pull up stoplight and stop, the car turns off. And then whenever you take your foot off the brake, it cranks right back up. And it's a lady, and she works she's a modern car tech, rebuilding, doing all, etc. And she was explaining that, and she said, here's the deal. The computer's counting how many times that thing restarts. And so they figured out, on average, how many times the average person would have this start and stop, stop and start in 3 years. And it's counting. And when it gets to be that, the check engine light comes on and tells you got to replace the starter, even though there's nothing wrong with the starter, but it's been counting how many times. And the starter is inside the engine. It's not on the outside anymore. You got to tear the engine in half to get to it. So you take it to the dealership and they tell you it's going to be a $7,000, $8,000, $9,000 repair, or you can trade that car in. And you trade the car in, they blow the intake manifold off of it, or more than likely, they plug in the little device and reset the counter to 0 and sell the car. Because ain't nothing wrong with that starter. But it's designed to get you back to the dealership. I've always thought that car dealers and lawyers and district attorneys all have a special rock in hell just reserved just for them. But, you know. Metalworks. How about an old school pressure canning video? We're going to be doing that with Bear. He's already talked about doing pressure canning. Correct. Planned obsoleteness. Kodak. Yeah, you're right here at the end, but we're here. Yeah. Oh, Gray Wolf, you finally got the new trail open? Well, can you fix it or something? Is it a vehicle trail, or is it a dog trail? Oh, gotcha. Yeah, it's all growed in around the top. Yeah, you're gonna have to 3 miles of chainsaw work. Yeah, yeah. Open that up. Yep. About around there's a special rock down there that keep extra toasty just for that. Yeah, yeah. The old Ronald Reagan joke. Ronald Reagan was had some of the best one-liners, and there was somebody in the Reagan presidential library. You know, they at all the presidential libraries are supposed to have like a replica of the Oval Office, how it looked when it was his office, because they always change it with every president. And some curator or whatever was looking at the desk and found in the top of the desk the notebook that I guess Nancy Reagan had put it there, or Ronald may have. We don't know. But it was a notebook of his jokes that he had set up and done and was always prepared for every meeting. And it was just page after page out of his jokes. I mean, that I always said they ought to publish that because he had some of the greatest one liners. He'd throw them out and just be hilarious. Yeah, Gray Wolf, I hear you. Realtor, same thing. You know, why do I have to pay you for me to buy something from him? Correct. Missed me. Yeah. That balloon popped and everybody jumped. And he went, missed me, and just kept on with the speech. No, the best one was it was a real tense moment and between us and Russia. And there was something going on, you know, and it was a really, really tense moment. And they had scheduled a press conference at like 2 in the afternoon. And at 1:30, Reagan just walked in the room and walked up to the podium without the normal announcement and anything. And everybody, they looked up, and Reagan said that, as commander in chief, I have taken command of this situation. The missiles were launched 30 minutes ago, and America will prevail, and turned and walked out the room. And they nearly had a duck. They thought he just launched World War III. And he leaned back in the door and said, nah, just kidding. We'll do the press conference in a few minutes. Whoever the big CBS reporter at that time, they didn't have cell phones in those days. You had to tell the camera guy to fire up the video camera that was this big and weighed 60 pounds. And they didn't even give him a chance to get, you'd see him just walking off because he'd done said it. And that's what he did it intentionally so they wouldn't have time. They'd like, everybody had a fit. It's, nah, just kidding. Hector, I binge watch your videos on occasion, and while you're filming, I hear shots. What, are you near the gun range? Yes, I'm part of a local gun club. And what it is there is, when I'm looking at the camera, back behind me, about 100 and something yards going away from me, is a 100-yard shooting range. And then to the left of that are three 25-yard shooting ranges. And then over this shoulder, back about, say, 300, now probably about 200 yards, is 8 pistol bays for shooting pistols. I'm in the primitive area, which is the black powder range, and it's also the primitive camping range. And it's close enough to me, I can hop over there in 10 minutes. For many years, I shot my videos in the woodlot behind my house. But the problem with it is that the area has built up over time, and back we got out here, we were somebody across the street on either side of us, we're out here. Now there's a housing area back behind us. And because of that, dogs and stuff, I'd go out there and start doing video, and Sir barks a lot. That's what I called him. If he heard me talking, he had to be barking. And so I had to hunt someplace local and quick I could do my videos. And so I'm a member of that club anyway, so I started going out there. Now, when I go out to the lake, and you see the lake, that's about a 45-minute drive for me. And I like to go out there and do a blitz. So you'll see a lot of my videos, it's the same location over and over again. Rewild, good evening, sir. Hold on a minute. Don't run away. I want to talk to you a second. And because of that, I'll drive out there and I'll do like 6, 7, 8 videos while I'm out there in an afternoon and then come home. Or I'll go camp out overnight and do something like that. And then to go to Grouch's, that's about an hour drive. And so I've got access to all kinds of lands. How long do I want to drive to get there? And how much time do I want to spend there? So to go to the Grouch's cabin and up there at the hunting land, that's an hour and a half one way. 3 hours plus round trip. So you're going to see me going out there when I'm trying to get, especially since it's so hot and I can't be out in the heat that much. I have to hop out there early in the morning. That's a short drive for me at the shooting range. I do my bit and then I can come home and edit and etc. That's the reason you're hearing me shooting. Now, Rewild. Guys, Rewild Outdoors is the gentleman that's putting on the event down in Florida in December. So they were asking about where they go to sign up. So Rewild posted a thing down there of where they need to go to get tickets to come to the event, and etc. Google this: how to straight razor shave in the woods. Okay. In the past, when we've done such things, either for historic reenactment or because that's what I learned to do is with a straight razor, I carried a metal mirror about this big, and I carried a cup, I carried the soap and the brush. If I had to slim down, it was just the soap, it was a half of a washcloth, the mirror, and the straight razor. And I took a canteen cup and I got as hot of water as I could stand. Okay. And I'm going to dunk that soap in it and hold it a minute till it kind of softens the soap. Dunk the rag, let it cool just a second, wash and everything, and get my beard as soft as possible. Then take the warm soap and lather up with the bar of the soap, right? Take the razor, dip it in the water and wipe it on the soap, dip it back in the water and wipe the razor off. So any leftover soap on the razor has had time to melt, come off, and I put new soap on there for a little bit of lubrication. Then shave, okay, using the mirror. I don't want to just tie the mirror up to a tree where I could stand up and see it. And I take a canteen cup, that hot canteen cup, and rig it up where I could come up and hook it and sit it someplace or hook it around a tree. So I got a place to dip my razor and have that washcloth to do it. So I would dip and I would shave. When I got done shaving, by now the water's cooled off enough, I would dip the razor, swish it around, come out, clean it off onto the half of a bath cloth, fold it in half, put it in a pocket, dip the rag in still warm water, come out, rinse it out, dip it, come out, wash soap off, dip it out, etc., and then go back with clean, cool water to finish making sure I didn't have any soap on me. That's how I would shave with a straight razor back in the day for living history events. I hope that helps. Okay, Rewild. The tickets go on sale August 1st at 6 p.m. We're going through Everbright for ticket sales. Awesome. Battle rattle between the gunfire and the constant sound of Lakotas and Blackhawks going over, and Chinooks and Apaches. I would sleep like a baby in Blackie's neck of the woods. I'm so used to it, we don't even notice it because I grew up with it, you know. And Remax, it's down near Rewild. Tell him the location. It's not Ocala. Okay. Yes, Rewild Outdoors. He has his own channel and he does a live at the same time I do mine. And so that's the reason we can't share. One night we're going to get together and I'm going to figure out how to invite him on to mine, or he's going to figure out how to invite me on to his, and we'll do one down there. Umalita, Florida. That's it. And but y'all jump over, if you're interested, jump over to the Rewild Outdoors channel when we get done. And he posted a live tonight talking about it. So yeah, I'm gonna be doing 2 classes at that, and I'll have a special guest with me, which is gonna be Scab, which is Choir Boys Outdoors, and me and him gonna talk about kukris, and I'm gonna talk about fire techniques for seniors and for everybody else too. But what do when it goes wrong in fire building? You know, why does it go wrong in fire building, etc. But we're going to talk about kukris in the eastern woodlands, why I consider it the best knife in the eastern woodlands as a digging tool, chopping tool, draw knife, wood splitter, froe, etc. It does all the good jobs as long as you get a decent one, one that is, and I'll talk about that in depth in at the event of what is a good one and what ain't, and to be able to understand it. And I've used mine 20 plus years. If it broke tomorrow, it's been worth it. I'd buy another in a heartbeat. Yes, Rewild, I'd like to do that. You know, if you can. I am not a technical guru savvy, and unfortunately my IT person has grown up and left. She was, when I started going up and borrowing her, she was 12. You know, went up and knocked up the hill, went up and knocked on the door, and the mom came to the door and said, "Can I borrow Emily?" She said, "For what?" I said, "I need an IT person." So her and her mom come down here, and she sat down at my computer and says, "Okay, what do you want it to do? Make that go away." You know, she's my little IT person. Well, now she's gone off to college, and so I don't have an IT person anymore. And but Rewild, if figure it out where you just send me a link, I'd be glad. We'll announce it instead of doing my live. We'll do our lives together on your channel one night, and everybody can come watch us talk on that one. Oh yeah, Gabe. Do you guys ever use the cold steel Spetsnite shovel? Yeah, I've used it a lot, and in fact, I think I still got one. I've got a German one, another one. I think I got one around here of it, but I remember giving my last one. There was a guy that he was having a lot of trouble on the side of the road and needed to dig out, and I couldn't stop and help him, but I gave him a shovel. He was out there trying to dig by hand to get the mud out so he could get underneath and get a chain on. I said, "Here, at least have a shovel." And I was on a time limit. I had to go. Otherwise, I'd stayed and helped. But they're good. They work well. And yes, you can sharpen one edge and use them for light chopping and stuff. Grim Bell, thank you very much. Oh, yeah. Jeff, you got one of the Russian ones. Those titanium ones like Canterbury had for a while there were real interesting looking at them. And I picked one up. Man, they're light. You know, I'll give them that. And there's two sides to that thought. If a shovel is real light, it's a joy to carry, and it's okay for digging. But if you're going to chop with it, light is not what you want. There's no mass, and you got to do more arm power because you ain't got no weight. On the other hand, if you want to use it for splitting and chopping and using it as a pseudo machete / hatchet, etc., as well as digging, heavier is better. But you know. Cool. Got a custom leather sheath for it. Hector, I'm glad to do it. Google this. I'm from LA, Lower Alabama. I'm in the Georgia, Florida corner in there. Born and raised. Oh, Randy, man, you talking now. Persimmon seeds for buttons. I remember stuff like that. I remember walnut hulls. Black walnuts cut and then made into buttons. I remember wood cedar limbs cut and made into buttons. You know. Chris Evans, anyone use their as frying pan? I've seen it done. I've used a hoe to cook on before, but I don't recall using a skillet, but I may have in the long years. I mean, shovel is a skillet. It can be done. I've seen them do it. I know Dave Canberra's done it several times. It's just I've always been a little leery about will it affect the heat treat of the steel, you know. Plus, my red clay down here sticks to everything so well. No matter what you do, it's going to be gritty as all get out. So, well, guys, that's almost 2 hours. Yes, Brian Bell, thank you that you like my cookery video about making the little shavings and all. I will try to do this fall once it cools off and I can get back out there and be able to stand the heat, guys, and be able to build a fire and not sweat and die, you know, because I'm just so sensitive to heat exhaustion now, especially after having it a couple of weeks ago. It's just not something I need to be around for very long. But once it cools off where I can build a fire, we're going to be doing some cooking videos and stuff. And we'll talk about fire building and stuff like that for silver wolves. We'll talk about cooking on a fire. And I'll show you the tips and tricks. I'm going to revisit that cookery. You know, I probably will do it as part of the ground pounder. Because I'm going to expand the ground pounder to be not just gear. We're going to talk about, you know, cooking gear, surplus cooking gear to carry. Things like machetes, stuff like that, surplus. What's a good idea to carry and why? And so I'm going to expand it out. Eric Vader. I have not heard from him in a while, but that's not unusual. He gets wrapped up working on orders, and I might not hear from him from a month or two, and suddenly he calls up and says, hey, so I haven't heard from him in a while. Remax, thank you very much. Google this. Where can you find wet rocks for straight razors now? That is a good question. I would recommend go look at Smoky Mountain Knife Works. They have just about everything. They got strops and everything there. And I have in the past, the way I sharpened mine way back in the day was I had it was called a lap stone, LAP stone, capital L, small a, small p, and it was a grayish stone, and excuse me, a brownish stone, and I used it to sharpen my straight razor, and it was meant for that. And but I haven't had one in years. I have not shaved with a straight razor in years. In fact, I gave away mine because it was an antique from about 1890 that my granddaddy gave me, and I gave it off to a family member that wanted it as a keepsake of my granddaddy. So I ain't even got one to show you right now. Well, Hector, thank you very much. Well, guys, we're going to call it quits for the night. I appreciate y'all tuning in. I always look forward to this every week. And again, if you're looking for shirts or merch, go down there and look at the thing. The description box. If you're interested in the silver wool stuff, go look at the thing. And I'll try to do the videos that we talked about tonight as soon as I can. Till next time, guys. Y'all have a good night. Safe journeys. See you next time.